Blessings and welcome to the Yoga for Empaths podcast series. My name is Tara Kaur. I'm a yoga teacher and energy therapist, and I'm looking forward to sharing this podcast series with you. I can't wait to dive into this topic. But before we begin, I'd like to invite you, if you can, to just take a moment to create space for yourself, really hold space for yourself, because this is what this podcast series is all about. It's about having this time, even if it's just 30 minutes of your time, to take a moment, bring awareness to what's going on within, and to join me as we explore some of the reflections, some of the tips, and some of the energy exchanges that we can have during this podcast series. So, as you're taking this moment, feel free to get a cup of tea. If you can, take your shoes off, make yourself super comfortable. You can pause this audio if you like. And when you're ready and you feel settled, take a moment, if you can, to close your eyes. And if you can't close your eyes, don't worry about it. Just listen to the words and connect with your breath. And as you're connecting with your breath, I want you to just notice the pattern of your breath. If you're feeling like it's light or heavy, is it shallow or is it deep? Just noticing your breath, really bringing it back to the foundations of connecting with life force energy through your breath. And when you're ready, start to consciously breathe in a little bit more deeper and exhale a little bit more deeper. So long, deep breathing, and connect with your belly. As you're inhaling deeply, feel your belly area expand outwards like a balloon. And as you're exhaling, feel that beautiful belly of yours just contracting inwards, releasing. Keep breathing deeply, inhaling to energize, exhaling to release. And as you're doing this, just notice any parts of your body that are feeling tension and give yourself full permission to let go of this tension. Use your breath every time you exhale to release this tension. And when you're ready, connect with your heart space. Allow your heart to be nice and open. You can place a hand on top of your heart if you like, feeling the heartbeat underneath your hand. And when you're ready, feel free to open your eyes. So welcome, as I said in the beginning, this is going to be such an exciting thing for me to share with you in this 8-part series. And I thought that the first part would be perfect to just be an introduction, to introduce myself, to share a little bit about my story of becoming aware of being an empath and how I got into energy healing and yoga. I'd also like to share what this podcast will be about, what it's going to be structured as. And I'd also like to offer you plenty of reflections in this introduction, just to get the ball rolling, get the energy flowing, so that we can begin this podcast series in a positive way. And hopefully some of the things will inspire you along the journey. So as an introduction, my name is Tara Kaur. That's my Kundalini yoga teacher name. And I started using this name because I just felt really connected to this name. And I've been doing energy therapies and yoga and meditation since 2004 on a professional level. But I've been interested in holistic health in general since the 90s. And I'll try and keep my story short as possible, so you can see where my foundations came from. But it really began as a teenager of the 90s, not really being too bothered about things in my life, being a typical teenager with my skateboard and my love for books. And on my 16th birthday, one of my family members took me to a bookstore and said, choose any book. This is your space, and that will be your gift for your 16th birthday. So there I was thinking, okay, great, I'm going to choose another book that's going to take me to another place in my imagination, because that's why I loved books, and I still love books today. It just sparks off imagination. But for this specific time, I remember being drawn away from the usual sections that I normally go to, and I was going towards the health section. And this was before they had the mind, body, soul, or mind, body, spirit section, or psychology section. It was literally just one big area with the big word health on it. So it was very general. And I started looking around, and this book suddenly just drew my attention. And I'm not sure why, because it's not even a very thick book. It looked like it's actually a very thin book by Shira Block. And I picked it up. And for those few seconds, I started flicking through the pages, just taking a moment to scan through different paragraphs, as I normally do when I want to pick a book and see the feel for the book. And this book just felt so right. And this was long before the book The Secret was out. This was long before I had any knowledge of what holistic health is, energy healing, chakras, all of this stuff. This was just something so far out of my normal quote-unquote world at that time. I was just interested in music, books, and skateboards. So when I was flicking through this book and I started seeing affirmations and started seeing explanations about how energy works and how you can attract things into your life, basically all the things we know as law of attraction today, I just thought, this is the book I want. And I remember really being excited, taking that book back home and reading it in one night. And from then on, I knew that there was something in this whole energy information that I was receiving from this book that made complete sense to me, and I wanted to explore it on a deeper level. And that was the beginning of my journey. And from then onwards, I just went to bookstores and started looking up things related to holistic health. I remember I was into shamanism. That was one of the first things as well that really sparked my interest. And I just started developing this awareness that, and this knowledge that there was actually holistic health out there. There were people out there who were interested in yoga and holistic health, and this was so far from my reality at that time. And as I started to explore this, it was actually the perfect time for me to find out about this, because in my early 20s, I started going through a very difficult time in my life where I was experiencing health issues, and I had to adapt in many ways on a physical level and also on an emotional level. So having that knowledge or that foundation before that difficult time in my life was really a blessing. It was a huge blessing to me, because I felt like it helped me adapt so much more. So for me, on a personal level, energy healing and holistic health in general was such an amazing tool, so much so that I had this confirmation in my mind that this was something I wanted to share with other people, even when other people were telling me, this is not a career path, or you're not going to make money from this, or, the usual stuff that sometimes people say out of love. They say it out of love, but really speaking, I can see back then where they were coming from, because not many people, at least in my immediate circle of people, knew anything about holistic health, and especially actually being a holistic therapist or a yoga teacher, it wasn't really a thing that I knew anything about. But I was still determined, and from my early 20s, in 2004, I started seeing my first client, and took it from there. Started with energy healing, and then, as with holistic health in general, when you discover or when you explore one area, it starts to become this series of doorways, like portals that you open up and you find out more, and then you open up another door and you find out more, and before you know it, you explore so many different areas of holistic health. And for me, one of the key moments of opening the door to yoga was when I was working as an energy therapist and realizing that grounding was such an important part of working with energy, for myself and also working with clients. This is where the yoga came in, especially Kundalini yoga, because Kundalini yoga is the yoga of awareness, and I felt really drawn towards it because it talked about and it explores topics about the Aquarian age and the age that we're living in, and how we are all in transition, which is very much a big thing that we can see in our world today on so many levels, political, social, and personal. We can see a lot of different transitions, and especially since 2012 and that energy shift in 2012, I remember where I was during those years and actually seeing a lot of the different transformations in people's lives as well. So around that time in 2012, I was actually running my own therapy space in a very corporate financial banking district of London in Liverpool Street. So this is where all the corporate people are, basically, all suited and booted. You would never probably think that they would be into this so-called quote unquote woo-woo stuff. But there I was building this therapy place. And even when no one or everyone tried to encourage me to stay away from that area because I would never get any clients with the, with the environment that it was, it actually was the complete opposite. I met so many people in such a short space of time from starting up in that area. People who had never even thought about working with energy healing and exploring their chakras, and what they knew was the very 3D level of what it was to live, to be in that corporate environment, the idea of the physical things in our life, the material things in our life. And there's nothing wrong with that, but they started really opening their eyes to the more 5D elements. So really enriching their life with other elements like holistic health and energy healing. And in 2012, I observed how this amazing shift was happening with so many people. And I'm so grateful for trusting my own intuition and being what I feel was the right place at the right time. And really speaking, in the last 7 years, this is when everything has really come full circle for me. So even though I started working with clients in 2004, in the last 7 years, we're in 2019 now, this is when I saw the full circle of many people literally changing their life 360, like completely flipping their life over from being someone who was so far away or didn't even think about all these things related to holistic health and nature and all those, woo-woo stuff, they would call it, to actually becoming thriving therapists and thriving yoga teachers out there. And I can, as I'm saying this, I'm actually thinking of many of the clients that I've had and are doing amazing right now. So the last 7-year cycle has been, again, another confirmation that energy healing and the shifts that are happening are very real. And now more than ever, bringing it back to what an empath is and what this podcast is going to be about, now more than ever, I think it's amazing to see that the information out there is available for people who are empaths and highly sensitive. And as we're moving through this life transition on so many levels, especially on a personal level, that awareness of you being an empath or a highly sensitive person is so crucial, because it is a gift. Even though in the beginning, when we're subconsciously not aware of our own sensitivity, it can sometimes feel very much like a burden. And the word empath, I notice has been very popular in the last couple of years, and I'm so thankful that the actual term is out there, because many times when I'm talking to a client, and this is your usual case scenario, general case scenario, where I meet a client for the first time and they're very into health. So they eat well, they get plenty of sleep, they exercise, they do all the traditional things that you would say is great for your health, you know? But at the same time, they always say, I feel so low in energy, or my emotions are all over the place, and I just don't know why. I just don't understand why my energy is always low when I'm doing everything right, when I've even been to the doctor and I've checked my whole body out and everything is perfect, and still I feel this way. And one of the first things that I do is I ask them if they know what being an empath is, or what being a highly sensitive person is. And from that moment, I see a lot of people just suddenly opening their eyes wider and saying, yes, actually, that's so true. You know, I am very aware of energy. I'm very aware of energy exchanges. And then from there, we explore it further as we dive into energy healing and the chakras. But it's amazing to see that it just takes that little bit of awareness to go into the right direction. And essentially, an empath and a highly sensitive person, even on a subconscious level, is very aware of the energy exchanges that they're having in their inner world and their outer world, and how that exchange is constant. It's a constant moving of energy from the moment we wake up to the time we go to sleep at night and recharge our own energy battery. If you can think of this visualization that we are this beautiful energy ball, and sometimes we wake up in the morning and we're feeling great, we're feeling amazing, our energy's recharged, and then we go throughout our day, maybe in places that we can't always control the energy. For example, in public transport. For example, if you think of the underground or the metro, you know, where you don't know who's around you in your environment, or you're walking down the street, you don't know who's going to walk past you. You know, there's this constant energy exchange. And also at work, we don't always pick the colleagues that we have to work with. You know, sometimes there might be challenging colleagues that push our buttons, or situations that push our buttons or trigger us. So there is this constant energy exchange. And empaths are very aware of it. Our energy system is built in such a way that we feel it. We feel it maybe on a physical level, maybe on an emotional level, on an intuitive level, and an emotional level. We feel it deeply. And this is my personal definition of what an empath and highly sensitive person is. It's a person whose energy is very aware of the energy exchanges around them. And sometimes it can be amazing, because life can be amazing, but just like life flows in one direction and the next, sometimes it can be quite challenging. I don't like to use the word negative. I prefer to say challenging, because it can dip. And having that energy exchange, if we don't have the right tools, can sometimes bring up situations where we're storing a lot of energy and a lot of emotions that are not even ours. And in that classic case of people who are doing everything right in their life, they're eating well, sleeping well, exercising, you name it, they're doing everything well, and their energy is not great, it's because they haven't got the right tools, essentially, to manage their energy. So it's all about energy management and awareness. How do you manage your energy, and how aware are you of how you're channeling your energy and what you're allowing yourself to receive on an energy level? So saying that, I'd like to just take a moment, and I want you to, again, just center yourself, connect back with your breath. And as you're connecting with your breath, I'd like you to think about a recent situation. It could be the most simplest situation, like going to the shop to buy something, or any time where you were out of your home space and connecting with a different energy around you and having an energy exchange. And I want you to reflect on one particular moment where maybe you didn't feel that good about the energy exchange. Again, this could be very subconscious, so it might take some time to think about it, or maybe it might be very obvious to you which energy exchanges are not feeling good in your life. And take a moment to think about that energy exchange, especially if it's challenging. And try and remember how your body or your mind or your emotions reacted. What stood out for you? What made you feel or triggered you in some way to knowing that this energy exchange was not something that was positive for you? And how did you feel it? That's the key thing. How did you feel it? Keep breathing deeply without judgment, just allowing anything or any memories to come up in a safe space. And when you're ready, feel free to bring your awareness back into your heart space, reminding yourself to keep your heart open. And just make note of that, because each empath is very different in how they feel the energy connection. Some people are more physical. They might feel it straight away. Like a classic example is someone who feels it in their lower belly, the second chakra, that tightening of the lower belly. That's a very classic example. Or some people might literally just feel their energy level drop. And some people might just feel like they want to remove themselves out of that situation. And others might feel it on a mental or a mind level, where they're suddenly feeling and thinking things in their mind. So take that simple exercise as an awareness exercise. And the next time you encounter an energy exchange where something comes up, especially if it's challenging, I want you just to notice how your body is reacting, how your mind is reacting, how your emotions is reacting, and really just take note. So really this is just to get the ball rolling into the next podcast, where we're going to dive into this topic of awareness more. But for now, I hope I was able to share just a little bit about what an empath is, because it's such a huge topic. And I hope in some way you can relate to it in some way, especially in the way that you're connecting with energy. We're all energy beings, this is the beautiful thing about life. We're all becoming more and more aware that we are all energy. Everything is energy, and as we're moving into the age of Aquarius, being inspired by my yoga training and Kundalini yoga, there was one quote that I really liked that stood out for me when I was going through the website and looking for just an inspirational quote that sums up where we're moving towards and how we're transitioning. And the quote is, "The old Piscean age was dominated by machines and hierarchies. The new Aquarian age is ruled by awareness, information, and energy." And for me, that small part just sums it all up. We are moving into such amazing times now. And as an empath, we have this amazing place in society and in our personal lives, where we're connecting with our own families and our own little community around us. We have this knowledge, this inner power and inner awareness to really make a difference in how things are changing in this transitional times. So I hope this podcast has inspired you, a small introduction to what's to come. Our next podcast coming will be more about awareness, sharing tools, very simple exercises like the one I shared today with you. And I hope you can try some of these exercises at home in your daily life and hopefully find how you can explore your beautiful sensitive energy. So for now, thank you so much for joining me on our introduction, and I can't wait to see you on the next one. If you want more information, feel free to check the links somewhere around this podcast. There will be links, or you can check my website at terracoreyoga.com, and all the information will be there. So take care of yourselves, have a wonderful day, and I will see you soon. Sat Nam.